very good morning to you. Welcome to Breakfast with Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
Headlines for you at 6 o'clock this morning. 13th of May. Builders and factory workers in England are among those being encouraged to return to work from today as the government starts to ease lockdown restrictions.
The Prime Minister is also allowing those of us in England to spend unlimited time in parks and public spaces and to do some outdoor sport. In Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland, the message remains to stay at home. Charlotte Rose reports.
We will be speaking this morning to Grant Shapps, the Transport Secretary, at 7:30. So if you have any questions about some of the things Ian was talking about then, you can get in contact with us at bbcbreakfast@bbc.co.uk. He's going to be here for sort of 10 minutes or so plenty of time to ask him some of your questions.
Yeah, so tell us your questions, your concerns, something, you know, if you want clarity on, just let us know.
The USA's leading infectious disease expert has said the country does not yet have coronavirus under control. That's despite California easing restrictions from today.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says a premature lifting of the lockdown will lead to unnecessary deaths. Let's speak to our...
We'll be talking about one thing that's going to change today in England, the reopening of garden centres this morning. Here's one item of horticultural hard.
I mean, it didn't look like you could put much in the barrow, did it?
Well,
was that the engine or something?
That would certainly, if you wanted to get...
That's the point of a wheelbarrow, isn't it?
But that's speed. You might not be able to get much in there, but you can certainly do it quickly.
Let's have a quick look at today's front pages. Look at the inside pages, and I mean, there is... What's really clear about this week is there's so many questions that so many of us, different questions, want answered. And the papers are really, obviously we do that here on BBC Breakfast.
We do.
The papers are also really good at doing that. And I'm just looking at the Times, for example, and they've got a Q&A there. Can I meet my parents as long as we're outside 2 metres? Lots of different things there. Ask for an estimate of when people would be able to hug someone they had just met. I mean, would you hug someone that you just met is a question. But anyway, Mr. Hancock said, I wouldn't recommend it. And pressed for a timetable, he replied, to get to the point where this is totally sorted is when we have a treatment or a vaccine. So, you know, questions about that, whether or not you can share a car to work as well. The papers have lots more, you know, if you want details, all of them have lots of detail.
Can you remember the last person you hugged who wasn't in your house?
I think it might have been the love...
On your counter challenge?
I think it could have been then because there was the night, the sport relief night.
That was yes, it was all happening at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it might have been her.
The other thing is...
Let me pass
talking about the housing market as well, because you can't see your parents, as they say in the Times, but if they were selling their house, you could potentially go around for a viewing.
There are so many anomalies,
I know.
Aren't there? That's the thing.
Here's the thing, right? A retired doctor won £500,000, but he didn't risk going for the millionaire question on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So here's the £100 question. I'm sure you get this, Louise.
£100?
This is the first question he had. Which of these products is sold by the brands Colgate, Oral-B and Sensodyne? Is it deodorant, shampoo, toothpaste or sun cream?
It's toothpaste.
You've got £100, Louise Minchin, well done. This is the one...
You know I hate quizzes too, so don't ask me anymore.
Have a go at this one. This is the £1 million question. This is the one, let me find his name. A retired GP, Andrew Townsley, said he was happy with his choice. He didn't go for an answer on this, but if he'd got it right, he won £1 million. He went home with 500,000. In the history of motorsport, which of these iconic races was held first? Le Mans 24 Hours, the Monaco Grand Prix, Indy 500 or the Isle of Man TT? I
tell you what, why don't we just leave that with people at home while we do what we're doing for the next 5 minutes here on Breakfast, and then you can answer it.
Can I ask you this, though? This is the psychology of it. If you didn't know, right, and you were hazarding a guess, would you? Are you that sort of person? No. Would you gamble the 500 grand that you've got in the bank?
No, I'm not.
No, you wouldn't.
No way.
I don't think I would either.
No.
I've got an amazing picture to show you as well. Hold on, where's this? Daily Mirror. You'll enjoy this one. Look at that. What a shot that is.
One of the things that's going to change today is that garden centres can reopen in England, which is great news for lots of gardeners, for whatever problems you may have in your garden or whatever things you might need.
Yes, those in Wales opened on Monday, but in Scotland and Northern Ireland they remain closed. Well, John Maguire is at a garden centre in Dorset today, and John, just for anybody who's concerned, we'll be fully making sure that we are socially distant at all times today, and that is a huge concern, isn't it, of keeping staff and all the customers safe?
I expect there probably will be a queue, won't there, as well, when it opens, because people really want to get there. John, thank you very much indeed. It's been lovely to see you.
Could do with a bit of compost myself. Right, I'm going to finish this answer to this question,
Yep,
Louise.
go on. What was the question? I've got an answer here.
In the history of motorsport, this is for the £1 million on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Retired GP Andrew Townsley went home with 500 grand. Didn't risk it on this one. In the history of motorsport, which of these iconic races was held first? Le Mans 24 Hour, Monaco Grand Prix, Indy 500, or the Isle of Man TT?
Michael says I'd go for TT.
Who's that, Michael?
Yeah, Michael.
Michael, you've just won £1 million. Well done, congratulations.
I'm afraid to say you didn't, but you did well.
It's the Isle of Man TT. Well done if you got it right. And
Yeah,
would you have risked it all on the answer if you didn't know it?
22 minutes past 6. Some primary school children in England could be back in their classrooms in less than 3 weeks. And if we want to know how on earth young children's social distancing rules might work, let's look at Denmark.
Schools there reopened a whole month ago. Our Europe correspondent Jean Mackenzie has been talking to staff and pupils at one of them.
What is very interesting to see, isn't it? How obviously other countries are going, doing things faster or earlier than we are, and to be able to see how things work or don't work, and that's really fascinating to see those children actually.
Yeah, and also when we've been speaking to government ministers on this programme, there is that admission, isn't it, that they are, and others from all countries around the world are watching very closely what other people are trying and how they're working, and then how they sort of change things depending on what the reaction is across the population.
One of the top priorities during the coronavirus outbreak has been getting supplies to where they're needed. Now on the Isle of Wight, they're using a new drone service to deliver to their only NHS hospital.
The unmanned aircraft has been brought into service 4 years early, so things like PPE can be sent to the island quickly. Duncan Kennedy has seen it in action.
Well, it looks a lovely day for a drone flight there. It's pretty chilly again this morning. Sarah's got all the details. Morning again.
Morning.
Sarah, thank you very much. See you in about half an hour. Thank you.
It's 6:32. Good morning. You're watching Breakfast with Louise and Dan.
And we'll bring you up to date the latest news in a moment, but also let's tell you what's on the
Good morning. Let's bring you a summary of the main stories today from BBC News. And builders and factory workers in England are among those being encouraged to return to certain jobs from today as the government starts to ease lockdown restrictions.
So just after 6:30, if you watch us regularly, you will know right now it's time for an appointment with a GP. Dr. Farah Sheikh.
It's 20 to 7 now. Golf courses in England can reopen from today. I'm sure there's some people already very excited about their tea times.
Have you booked your tea time?
No, I'm just got important homeschooling to be doing today, Louise. And those in Wales will follow suit on Monday.
Yeah. Because of social distancing, of course, players will need to get to grips with even more rules than usual. Sally is at a course in Greater Manchester to find out more. Very good morning, Sally.
It feels, feels a bit different today as well. I know it is different for many people in England, trying to sort of ease things slightly, but just being out and about on the programme, being outside.
The fact that we can actually go to a golf course, obviously obeying rules, etc. But yes, it's lovely to see.
A bit of fresh air, Louise.
We've already heard this morning about the impact of coronavirus on school children. Let's now go to a group a few years older and consider what it's doing to young adults at the start of their careers.
With many apprenticeships and junior positions being cut and a lack of savings to fall back on, this group are less physical risk from COVID-19, of course, but they're more vulnerable to the economic damage. Radio 1 Newsbeat's reporter Kirsty Grant has sent us this report.
So from today, if you live in England and have a job that can't be done from home, we know the government would like you to go to work. And naturally, that is causing some concerns over safety. Sean is safely in our newsroom to give us more on this. Morning.
Morning to you.
Housing market. We're getting a lot of questions in today. We're going to be speaking to the Transport Secretary, Grant Shapps, about, obviously, people going back to work today. But loads of questions coming in on the reopening of the housing market. People saying, I can go, potential buyers, renters, childminders and cleaners can enter a property, but members of the family who live in a different household can't. Loads of questions about that, about holidays, so keep those coming in this morning.
Yeah, we'll be speaking to Grant Shapps at 7:30, so you've still got time. Let's catch up on the weather, and if anybody's been out this morning, you may not have been already, but I can tell you it's chilly, isn't it? Morning. Hello, very good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
Headlines for you at 7 o'clock. It's Wednesday, the 13th of May. Top story for you this morning. Builders and factory workers in England are among those being encouraged to return to work today. This is as the government starts to ease lockdown restrictions.
The Prime Minister is also allowing those of us in England to spend unlimited time in parks and public spaces and to do some outdoor sports. In Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland, the message remains to stay at home. Charlotte Rose reports. to you later as well. Also, to let you know, 7:30, so just over 20 minutes' time, we'll be speaking to the Transport Secretary, Grant Shapps. Just to let you know, so in the last few minutes, we've had the latest official figures on how the UK economy performed in the first 3 months of this year. Really important to have a look at them. Sean can tell us what's been going on.
Morning.
Very much indeed. Good to, have a look through those figures and see the implications. Thank you.
11 minutes past 7 for you this morning. Thanks for watching us on Breakfast. We'll tell you most days about many countries across Europe who are beginning to lift their lockdowns as their death rates from coronavirus start to slow down.
Germany has seen infections rise since it eased restrictions, although the scientific body advising the German government said it was not concerned.
Let's speak to our Europe countries.
Earlier in the programme, we were talking about garden centres reopening in England from this morning, but of course not everyone has the luxury of an outside space.
Thankfully, if you live in England, you can now spend an unlimited amount of time in parks and public spaces, as long as, of course, we follow social distancing rules and meet no more than one person from another household. Well, Holly Hamilton.
How these new rules, changes to lockdown, at least in England, are going to be policed. We're joined by Martin Hewitt, Chair of the National. That report by Holly, how much difference it is going to make to people to be allowed to go to the park, to public spaces for as long as they like. But also we know that you are only meant to meet one person from another household. So how will you be able to police that? Chiefs Counsel, thanks very much for your time again here on BBC Breakfast. Thank you.
Now, a couple of months ago, any parent of a sick or injured child wouldn't have thought twice about taking them to hospital if it was necessary.
Now, fear of coronavirus is causing them to stay away, with Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge seeing less than a third of the usual number of young patients. Our science correspondent Richard Westcott has more. Lovely to see a round of applause. It's chilly out this morning, but Sarah has more details than I do. Morning.
Morning. Sarah, thank you very much for that today.
Hello, very good morning to you. You are watching Breakfast with Dan and Louise.
Let's bring you up to date with the main stories. Just gone 7:30 this morning. Builders and factory workers in England are among those being encouraged to return to certain jobs from today as the government starts to ease lockdown restrictions.
So actually, in England, quite a few changes come in place today, and that includes golf courses, which can open from today, and those in Wales, though, will follow suit on Monday. Because of social distancing, there are more rules, aren't there, Sally? She's on a course. I think you're on the first tee nearly, aren't you? Morning in Greater Manchester.
Thank you very much, and well done, Nick. Bit of pressure there on live TV.
It was very brave to do that.
Yeah. I was just sitting there watching going, is somebody actually going to tee off or not? Good on him. That's excellent. Among those that are heading back to work in England today are, we now know, estate agents, as the government tries to get the housing market moving. This comes as we've had official figures as well in the last hour showing how hard the economy has been hit so far by lockdown. Sean's got news on both of those from the newsroom. Morning.
Yeah, morning to you.
It's interesting to hear that. Not exactly what I was you're necessarily expecting as well, but good to hear it. Thank you, Sean. Thank you very much indeed for that. And we know that lots of people are being encouraged by the government to go back to work today. We've been speaking to Grant Shapps about all of that, who's Nations and Regions Director of the Rail Delivery Group as well, about what they're doing to help passengers too. Should we catch up with the weather too?
Yeah, look quite nice in London. Let's find out what's happening with Sarah. Good morning.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to Breakfast with Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
Headlines for you at 8 o'clock this morning. We've heard in the last hour that the UK economy shrank at the fastest pace since the financial crisis of 2008 during the first 3 months of this year.
The Office for National Statistics said the economy contracted by 2% in the 3 months to March. Sean can have a look at it and what it means and, what the indications are as well. Morning.
Morning to you.
Builders and factory workers in England are among those being encouraged to return to work from today. This is as the government starts to ease lockdown restrictions.
The Prime Minister is also allowing those of us in England to spend unlimited time in parks and public spaces and to also do some outdoor sport. In Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland, the message remains to stay at home.
Well, Charlotte, this morning, that's the latest live from Canning Town Station this morning.
Lots of things to talk to our political correspondent Ian Watson about, who's in West earlier. He repeating those calls for people in England to go to work and if they can't work from home, but also to, if they can, avoid using public transport. How will that go down with the opposition, trade unions as well? That was Grant Shapps talking to us earlier. Ian, there's also a suggestion, isn't there, that the virtual parliament that we've seen might be replaced by the more traditional one. How would that work?
British Transport Police are investigating the death of a railway ticket office worker who died of coronavirus after allegedly being spat at by a man who claimed he was infected.
Childminders in England can reopen from today if they're caring for children from the same household. We're going to be talking about the reopening of garden centres in England this morning in just a few moments. But first of all, here's one piece of horticultural hardware you won't find.
Snack beer title and the barrow of speed. Surely one of our clever viewers can come up with something better than that.
12 minutes past 8. Morning to you. It is back to work today if you live in England and you can't do your job from home. Well, that is the advice from the government in Westminster. And
as we've been hearing, that also means increased numbers on buses, on trams and trains.
How's it going? Let's speak to Robert Nisbet for joining us. And I suppose first question, how is it going this morning? How many people are trying to get on the trains? Talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. Thank you.
OK, so that's a sort of picture of public transport this morning. And garden centres also are reopening in England today, which is good news if your lockdown lawn needs a little bit of love.
Yep, other things as well. In Wales, they opened on Monday. In Scotland and Northern Ireland, they do, though, remain closed. John Maguire is at a garden centre in Dorset to see how they're planning to keep staff and customers safe. And we can see, you know, they have really trying to be They have been planning for this, haven't they? Morning. And there'll probably be a queue outside as well a little bit later on. John, thank you very much. It's lovely to see it. Thank you.
It's an important day, isn't it, for many people, but still trying to balance the easing of the lockdown with, as we've been saying all morning, that sort of keeping health and social distance as a top priority at all times. Yeah. One
of the top priorities during the coronavirus outbreak has been getting supplies to where they're needed. Now, on the Isle of Wight, they're using a new drone service to deliver to their only NHS hospital.
Now, have a look at this. It's an unmanned aircraft that has been brought into service 4 years earlier than was planned, so things like PPE can be sent around the island quickly. Duncan Kennedy has been keeping a very close eye on it.
A lovely day for that filming. Sarah, you've got a lovely picture here. So is there some nice sunshine on the way for some people?
There is.
Thank you very much for that, Sarah. So you see the weather's getting a little bit better. You've been worried about the cold, haven't you?
It is cold right today, though. Very good morning to you. Watching Breakfast with Dan and Louise.
The UK economy shrank at the fastest pace since the financial crisis of 2008 during the first 3 months of this year.
Yes, the British Transport Police is investigating the death of a railway ticket office worker who died of coronavirus after allegedly being spat at by a man who claimed he was infected. It is at 8:32, coming up on the programme in the next half.
From today, and those in Wales will follow suit next week. I think it's Monday, is it next week?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Because of social distancing, players will need to get to grips with even more rules than they usually have. Sally is at a course in Greater Manchester, which is now open. Morning.
People enjoyed watching Nick tee off the first about an hour ago, Sal, as well, snap hooking it left. I think it was a beautiful moment.
Yeah, Dan, has it gone viral? Has Nick gone viral?
And has since put it on social media saying the entire shoulders of golf rest on Nick's, on the entire golf game rests on.
Looked perfectly good to me.
He was very brave to do that.
Exactly. Full credit to him. Thank you, Sal.
Thank you very much. Now, we could all do with some inspirational stories right now, couldn't we? And much as he did at Chelsea, Juventus and Sampdoria, Gianluca Vialli has popped up to deliver the goods at just the right moment. And I can already see his glorious smile.
He's written a book of 90 tales of sportsmen and sportswomen who've overcome serious challenges. He's also included in that book his own story of having 2 bouts of treatment for cancer. Delighted to say, Louise, being free of pancreatic cancer. How are you feeling today, Luca?
Of stories and also kind of mottos as well. So you've got, obviously, do you live by mantras? Is that one of the things that you love?
Yeah. Of the sorts of stories that are in there. Obviously, you're in there as well. But what sort of things will people be able to read? What stories really stand out for you?
Say from all across different sports. But I read particularly your story, and you're very honest about what happened to you. And you have been, you know, quite ill. You sort of prepared for it, didn't you? In some ways, like an athlete would prepare.
Have you on the programme, Luke? I know lots of people, lots of our viewers and many others as well, but been very concerned about you and worried over the last few months. And I wonder, having been through what you have been through and written this book, I would imagine that's given you quite a clear perspective on life. And, you know, at the moment, there's this big discussion about whether football should come back, whether we should be starting the Premier League, when we should be starting it. Are you firmly of the opinion that health is the #1 priority, and football almost should take a back seat for the foreseeable future? How do you feel about it?
Bookshelves. You've got one of my favourite games at the top, Perudo.
I was going to mention that as well. I love Perudo.
I haven't
Can
been.
I say one more thing?
Of course you can. People today,
It's
Luca.
really
Thank you
lovely
so much.
to see you. Luca's book is called Goals, and it is out tomorrow.
I can't believe we've known each other for a long time. We've
We
not played
never knew
Perudo
that.
yet. OK, let's get it sorted.
Such a good game.
Thank you, Luca.
Over the past 2 years, millions of Coronation Street fans have been engrossed in one of the soap's most memorable storylines, which has highlighted the relatively new offence of coercive control within relationships.
Yeah, Jeff Metcalfe has bullied and humiliated his wife, Yasmin, reducing her to a shadow of her former self. It's a situation which came to a head earlier this month. Ian, isn't it? It's been the eye-opening is a really good way of saying it, because it's been a slow progression, Ian, this relationship. Started off relatively normally, as every Corrie fan will know, and then it's been that slow sort of chipping away at confidence and reducing, I don't want to say the word normal, but a normal relationship to something which is quite horrible and cruel.
Was watching it, how important is it, and how important in some ways that it highlights something that people may not be sort of that aware of. Out there, isn't there, Shelley? And just, Ian, really briefly, how does it affect you playing a character like that? I mean, I know you're an actor, right? But does that affect you playing that side of character? Just briefly. Really good to chat to you. I'm sorry to cut you off. It's really good to chat to you all. Thank you very much. Ian Bartholomew, Shelley King, Teresa as well from Women's Aid, and I know you helped so much with all of that production as well. Great to chat. Thank you very much indeed. And
you can keep watching Coronation Street tonight, 7:30 on ITV1.
Yep. Yesterday we had a treat for Eurovision fans when our Moscow correspondent Steve Rosenberg played the piano while 3 members of Bucks Fizz sang Making Your Mind Up. It's on our social media. Please go and have a look. It'll cheer you up.
Today we have another legend of the song contest, Bjorn from ABBA, singer and songwriter, of course, who's been telling Richard Collins about how he's been coping with life under lockdown. Got a daily slice of Eurovision at the minute.
I know, which is absolutely wonderful. And that's it from us today. Charlie and Naga will be here from 6 o'clock tomorrow.
Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.